A little more with Lord Jones, Digby Jones, the former head of the CBI, former government minister. I'm just wondering, Digby, thanks for coming in. Would you have signed this letter? Would you have actually coordinated a letter like this?
I'd have coordinated a letter right now and I would have signed it, but it wouldn't have said that.
And
if it was going to say that, I'd have sent it to Brussels as well as I'd have sent it to London, and I'd have sent it to Berlin as much as I'd sent it to Brussels, because these trade organisations, and I ran one, as you said, and they're stuffed full of businesses that trade all over the place, but a lot of European businesses, UK operation, are members. So in the end of the day, we've got to stop this idea that we're somehow penitent and we're little naughty schoolboys who are being given a slap, and you'll have double Latin on Friday because you've been a naughty boy. What we've got to do is get them to understand, and these organisations should know better, which is you've never negotiated a deal by saying, tell you what, I'm not going to walk away ever. Secondly, I need you to do this, and please. And it doesn't work. And there's a very easy way, I would say, to these organisations, and indeed to the Labour opposition, and indeed to some of Theresa's own party. There's a very easy way to make this hurry up. Just pay them what they want. But you've never done a negotiation like that in your life in business, and you should know better. And what really frustrates me is that we seem to be looking at this from, oh dear, we want something. The European Union need this as much as we do. And it's high time we called their bluff about this idea of you haven't done enough yet. One of your reports just now, you and I were watching it, and they said, oh, they don't know whether sufficient progress has been made. Well, how about them making some progress? What about them coming to the party? There's a legal point, isn't there? That's how much we're legally obliged to pay. Well, we should pay it. And that's how much they'd like us to pay on top. There's a deal to be done. But frankly, to just turn around and say, well, I'm not going to do anything else until you pay more money, well, everybody wants this hurried up. But it doesn't help when business organisations send it only to London, not to Brussels and Berlin, and actually in it make a statement of the you-know-what obvious.
What would you say to the business person watching who says, hang on a second, what we're asking for is certainty, something that you would understand as in your previous life as a business person? I'm just thinking, if they're asking for a transition deal and clarity around that pretty quickly,
I think that's
which gives them certainty, what's unreasonable about that?
Not only unreasonable, it's not unreasonable, Hugh. I mean, in fact, I chair businesses now. We would love an ache for certainty right now, and we don't get it. And it affects your investment decision. I think more than your decision at this stage, it affects the investment climate. And one of the businesses I chair, we're wondering, where are we going to be on this? Do we hold back on investment, or do we invest somewhere else? The quicker we get certainty, the better it is. So that argument in that letter is spot on.
Right, okay.
I'm not decrying the message.
No, okay.
I'm merely saying you've sent it to the wrong person.
That's important. Well, really? Because obviously British ministers are involved in trying to get a transitional deal.
What is David Davis going to do other than give in to achieve what they want? By the way, to achieve what I want.
It's to negotiate, isn't it?
It's to negotiate, but you can't negotiate against somebody who's saying, well, try harder.
Is that what they're saying?
Of course it is. Well, they've said it themselves, not sufficient progress. What they mean is, pay us more money. Well, the only way you negotiate at some point, you either say, I've gone as far as I can, I'm walking away, and at that point, I would like to think the European companies based in Britain who are members of those organisations should be saying to Angela Merkel, because this is all about the German influence. I mean, the Germans will decide this at the end of the day, not Brussels. And at some point, the Germans have got to say, yes, we've gone as far as we can. Let's talk about what really matters, which is the trade.
Do you get the point? Do you agree with the point in the letter, which basically says, unless we get a transitional deal and sort it out by the end of the year, jobs and investment in the UK, which, let's face it, are the most important things, they are going to suffer?
I totally agree with that. I think they're absolutely right. What we should do is say, we're coming out on that day, deal done. Now we need a period of time in which we can make that effective. And I wouldn't do an overall transition. I mean, I'd have financial services needs, transitional time and things are going to be different to manufacturing. Both are going to be different to agriculture. They're all going to be different to universities.
That sounds quite complex.
Well, sure, but this is complex. But at the end of the day, it's got to be, we're out, we sign the deal. Now, part of that deal is transition for a period of time in different sectors. I think the letter in that respect is absolutely spot on. And the quicker we get that, the quicker we get certainty, we all make our investment decisions. My criticism today is that, one, they should have included Berlin and Brussels in this, and they didn't. And two, stop just saying to the British government, hurry it along. Because actually, the only way to hurry this along quickly for us is write the cheque. And I can just see all of you guys, you know, if Theresa May gave in the morning and wrote the cheque, next question from you would be, why did you pay so much money? And it would be, well, because last week you were saying to me, why aren't I hurrying this along?
Quite a lot of people might be asking that question.
And it's, at the end of the day, I can see why a certain part of the business community, especially bigger business, would say, access to the single market, a deal for Britain, which is different to Norway, different to Switzerland. We're the 5th biggest economy on earth, big home for a lot of EU companies. So it's going to be a one-off deal, right? That is worth paying more money for. Right, I get that, so do the deal. But don't carry on, Europe, please, saying, you haven't done enough, you haven't done enough, and I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you. Because actually part of that money deal has got to be, what are you going to give us? What am I going to pay for? And if I'm going to have greater access, of course it's worth more money. Well then, bigger deal. But if you just say, I want the money and I'm not going to tell you what you're going to get for it, other than the legal obligation, you know, the legal obligation, then there's a bit more. Well, that bit more, which they're saying you're not paying enough yet, well, what am I getting for it, Europe? Come on, Angela Merkel, what are you going to give me for this?
Do you have a figure in mind?
I would say, you know, if it's 20-odd billion for the legal obligation, I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to put another 10 billion and say, I'll tell you what you'll do with that. You'll go and get a young unemployed Greek person and a single mum in Madrid and all the people you don't help. And let's put that money specifically to get them into work. And I think that would be great. It would help, it would show what business can do. It would help Southern Europe, which is badly in need of it. And it would show that Britain isn't coming to this as a penitent sort of wrongdoer.
At 30 billion.
And I'd say 30 billion. By the way, what do I know and what do you know? I mean, it's happening behind closed doors. But that's where I think it, and in return, we will have a degree of single market access because, by the way, your companies in Germany, Italy, France, need it just as much as we do. And if somebody breathes a bit of sense into this, instead of the polemic of Labour Party and Tory Party having the row, Juncker and all the others having the row, if somebody just said, well, actually, there's 520 million people here whose livelihoods depend on this, because their livelihoods depend on it just as much as us. And so on that basis, just stop all this, do it in the morning, because you know the frustrating thing, Hugh? They could.
Digby Jones, good to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for...
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.